never ends.
You know what? I really didn't want to make this video. As surprising as this may sound, and I know I sound like a broken record saying this, but I really don't enjoy making constant negative videos about a game or a publisher. After all, I started this channel to talk about my love of gaming and to discuss all the great games that I'm obsessed with. I mean, even though gaming is kind of in a weird spot where free-to-play, microtransactions, and games as a service dominate the old trend of complete and content-filled games at launch, gaming is still easily my favorite hobby, and there still is a lot to love in the industry. I'm currently in the process of making several videos that include topics like praising Battlefront 2, hyping up the amount of content in the next COD game, and constructively criticizing Bungie for some of their current pricing decisions. But I've had to put all those videos on hold because what Gears 5 is doing is honestly a disgrace to all their most loyal fans who have kept this franchise alive for more than a decade. And if we don't call out the coalition and let the developers know loud and clear that there are several issues with their game, then it will only get worse. Gears 5 is already suffering from problems such as the loss of its identity, launching as and continuing to be a broken mess, artificially extending its life by drip-feeding content, changing up the core fundamentals of what made the previous installments great, and so much more. But with today's video, enough is enough, and I'm entirely done playing Gears 5 until something drastically changes. I was already upset about the game's plethora of issues. I was already upset with its continued attempt to nickel and dime fans in the store. I was already upset that the head developer liked a highly inappropriate tweet on Twitter that was hateful to any fans that have any criticism. I was already upset when they decided it was okay to charge fans $5 just to have the original curb stomp execution that's been the icon of the Gears franchise ever since Gears 1. But now after I've seen how they decided to implement the grind for new characters, and after seeing they had the audacity to charge $20 for 2 more stupid Terminator character skins, I can see now that our many complaints and problems with Gears 5 are falling on deaf ears, and the coalition simply doesn't care. I really do love the Gears franchise, and unlike some Gears 5 apologists who want me to stop making content about this game, I'm not going to sit idly by and watch one of my all-time favorite franchises get turned into a husk of its former self. So with that said, before we get into the meat of this video,
fluidity, like you see with this cube of meat we built here.
No, not that cubed meat. Let's talk about why this game deserves and should be criticized by those who hate Gears 5 as well as those who love it. So by now it's pretty well known that this game has gotten outstanding reviews from critics, and then somehow even got universal praise from YouTube reviewers, who are the people I usually go to for trusted opinions and viewpoints. This obviously baffled me and led to me making my first Gears 5 video. When I first made that review video, it didn't do too well, and I got a lot of hate for doing so, but I kept telling my friends and other YouTubers that what I was saying was right, and after enough time, most of the Gears community would agree with what I had said, and then sure enough, after a couple of weeks, my video took off and went from a couple thousand views to around 30,000, which for my channel size is a decent video. So once that did well, I decided to do more in-depth videos on the game, and I've already covered microtransactions and the flawed multiplayer, and both of those videos have done equally as well. And my initial plan for today's video was to talk about how terrible Horde is, but instead, this subject needs to be discussed first. I keep getting a ton of negative comments about my opinion on Gears, such as this gentleman who got very offended by me saying thanks for watching, despite his comment being very negative. And then this guy who thinks Gears 5 is an amazing game and believes I should do nothing but praise it. Obviously these guys love Gears, and I'm glad they're having a good time. I'm not trying to take that away from them, but why is it wrong for people like me to point out a game's flaws? This is what I don't understand. Why are some people still defending this game like their life depends on it? Is the coalition giving you a ton of iron or something? Are they automatically unlocking characters for you? If anything, criticism leads to improvement. You can love a game, but you still need to have the ability to admit obvious flaws. For instance, a game that I love playing with my little brother and my friends is Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I had a lot of fun with that game's multiplayer for a while, and played it a ton during its release week. But you know what? Even though I personally think the multiplayer is really fun, I'd still only give the game a 6.5 out of 10, and I can easily and readily admit the game is absolutely ridiculed with issues. I did the same with Mass Effect Andromeda, where I admitted I loved the game, but I could still see the game had serious problems. Okay, now let's move into another defense that I constantly hear, and that's if we all just wait patiently, the game will be great in a year or so. And to the defense, you're right. The game very well may become great in the future, as seemingly every game makes a comeback nowadays. but all those games that made impressive comebacks were properly criticized and ridiculed online. No Man's Sky, Battlefront 2, Halo 5, even Destiny 1 and 2, and many more games all became good in the community's eyes several years after release. But before they became good, they had extremely rough launches and were met with widespread disapproval. So if you want Gears 5 to also eventually become great, then the path to do so isn't by constantly praising the developers and yelling at any consumer with a different opinion than yours. As a matter of fact, we've already seen a couple of good changes stem from criticizing the game. The reduction of the flashbang duration and the reduction in store pricing has all been done due to the uproar from the community. Now if we the fans keep criticizing the Coalition for bad decisions, then we may finally have fan favorite maps added back in. We may finally have the Locust and Lambit and Horde. We may finally have a good ranking system. We may finally have good servers in the EU. And we may finally get a lot more characters and weapons from previous games added in. Now all you Gears 5 apologists, are you honestly going to tell me that you wouldn't like getting everything I just mentioned added into the game and would rather have a broken game with less content? I don't think so. And you should at least find something I listed as an addition you would like to see. Okay, if that's said, let's move into the actual issues of the Coalition's recent actions. Now no matter what side of the aisle you fall on, in either liking or disliking Gears 5, the first two issues are ones that we should all recognize. First, the game's ranking is still broken beyond belief, and I keep seeing other people also post screenshots of how this game will derank them even though they do everything right. This is completely unacceptable, and I know if this happened in a game like Apex Legends or a game like Rainbow Six Siege, it'd be talked about and criticized endlessly all across the internet, because it is a major issue. You're going to have zero incentive to play a game if you're punished for doing well. And if there's no good worthwhile rewards and little content in the base product, then the only real grind or sense of accomplishment is by increasing your rank and getting better. And right now as it stands, this feature is 100% broken. And I can't remember the last time I saw ranked playlists implemented this poorly. The other feature that's still incredibly broken are the servers in the EU. I don't have much to say about this other than the fact that there are still players in other regions that can't simply play the game. And for a flagship title for Xbox, backed by one of the wealthiest publishers, there simply is no excuse for this level of neglect to fans. For players in regions outside of North America that still play with incredibly high ping, my heart truly reaches out to you, because I know how awful it is to play with high ping, and in games like Gears, where any kind of delay matters, this needs to be completely fixed ASAP. Moving on from the massive technical problems, I want to talk about the Gears 5 characters that were recently added. Now as I and many others across the community have all stated since day one, this game has been severely lacking in its roster. Well, after the most recent update to the game, 4 new playable characters have been added. This includes DB and the Cog Soldier as hero characters, and the Warden and General Rom for the Locust. These characters are all great visually, with the Warden in particular looking amazing, and Rom, well, he's still the usual nostalgic badass that he always has been. In terms of how they play, they also all look fine, with the Cog Soldier in particular being an incredible medic class in Horde. However, after a month and a half, I think it's safe to say the community expected far more fan favorites to return, such as the obvious Carmine family, which continues to be posted daily on Reddit, and of course Delta Squad, the characters who brought this franchise into stardom. So if this is the rate at which we can expect characters to be added, well then it's pretty disappointing to say the least. Now to the part that's angered most of the community, the awful grind to obtain all 4 of these new characters. I don't think anyone would mind doing a reasonable grind or performing certain tasks, but the manner in which we obtain them, it's clear that the Coalition is strongly trying to push fans into at least purchasing 1 or 2 of them, as each character has a universal base set of challenges as well as one unique challenge. Although this is where the issue comes into play, as you can only earn 1 character at a time through a newly made anti-consumer totem system. With this system, you basically pick 1 character at a time that you want to unlock, and if you don't have that character's totem equipped, nothing you do counts towards that character. Therefore, while all 4 characters have some of the same requirements, you can unlock or complete objectives for 2 characters simultaneously. This is the part that is an awful artificial grind. There is no need for this totem system other than the fact that the Coalition is hoping you get tired, bored, or frustrated after grinding just a couple characters and just purchase the rest of them. And if that wasn't enough, to add salt to the wound, the Coalition released 2 more characters that could not be earned and only purchased for $20. And they're Terminator characters nevertheless. If you scroll through the Reddit even for a minute or two, it's clear that fans don't like how unfair the Terminator skin is in Versus. And it's even banned in competitive play, due to it being hard to see, quiet, and even looking like a COG character. So somehow this new Terminator skin is even worse than the old one, with a ridiculously small frame, which has already led to it being a meme on Reddit, like this guy's post showing the frame of what the next version may very well look like. I have to admit though, if there's been anything good out of this dumpster fire that is Gears 5, it's the game's Reddit community, as they're funny and savage and have no shame in roasting the new female character Grace for her haircut, her in-game model, and her incredibly annoying intros.
I'm an augmented super soldier from the future, so fuck them all.
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
So as you can see, the price tag of $20 for some characters in a $60 game hasn't gone over well. And no, you can't defend this as cosmetic only. The Terminator character has an obvious advantage in versus, and Grace has her own unique set of abilities for certain game modes. This is not simply cosmetic. Okay, the last thing I want to cover is the studio head of the Coalition, Rob Ferguson, liking an awful tweet. Here it is on screen. And no, I'm not going to read it because I try and minimize how much I curse on the channel, because unlike this child on Twitter, I can usually get my point across in a civil and meaningful manner, and I'm open to hearing other viewpoints. So basically this guy's tweet says he loves Gears 5 and F off to any fans who have any complaints with the game. And this is the kind of tweet that the studio head likes. That shows how the Coalition honestly feels about feedback. Yes, I'm glad Rob Ferguson didn't actually write this tweet, but by liking it, he's saying he agrees with this guy and feels similar. And no, don't try and defend this by saying he likes all tweets with the Gears 5 hashtag, or tweets that are addressed to him and the community manager, as I and many others have been tweeting at them fairly often with no response and no likes. So he made a very conscious decision to like this one, and if this is how the developers feel about the fans who have any criticism at all, then I'm sorry, but I'm done with this game and refuse to support it financially, as well as in terms of their player base and player time. And I'll happily be returning to the other Gears games until the Coalition gets off their high horse and recognizes that if it wasn't for the fans, they wouldn't have a job. Gears 5 was already a messy, broken, incomplete, and disgraceful game to the Gears franchise. Yes, it has some great moments in the story. Yes, the graphics are amazing. Yes, the game runs incredibly well when everything is working. And yes, there is some good in Gears 5. But at the moment, the good isn't just overshadowed by the bad, it's completely crushed and buried. The Coalition has some serious work to do with Gears 5. And with the list of fixes seemingly getting longer, and the additions being made done rather poorly, I just don't see much of a reason to keep playing it. The gaming market is incredibly oversaturated nowadays, and massive games like Modern Warfare, Outer Worlds, and Doom Eternal are all coming out soon. And with the Gears franchise no longer considered a heavy hitter, this game needed to be a masterpiece on day one. And if you disagree and still love the game, I'm happy for you. But whether or not you want to admit it, the truth is that this game is failing on Twitch. It's failed to gain an audience on PC. And its player base on Xbox has taken a nosedive. And the communities on both Reddit and the official website are largely criticizing this game. Those are the cold hard facts. Those are not subjective or opinions, that's just a state of reality. So therefore the fact is that Gears 5 is in a really rough spot right now. And I truly hope the Coalition can dig themselves out of the grave that they themselves dug. But based on what I've currently seen, I just don't know if it can be done, but I hope I'm proven wrong. Well, that wraps up this video on why Gears 5 is in an awful spot, and why I've stopped playing it. So let me know what you think down in the comments, and as always, my Twitter account and Patreon are linked down below. And this video was made in part thanks to the generous support from Shane Kruse. With that said, let's chat down in the comments. If you like this video and want to see more like it, be sure to leave a like, share the video, and hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you all on the next Shepherd Gaming video. Keyless Ally.